Oh no.
Oh, for God's sake!
Piss off!
Hello Grumpies, greetings from the Shadowban dimension. As a follow-up to our recent ups and downs videos, next on the channel we're going to be looking at the most watched episodes for each of the proper Doctors, starting with Bill Hartnell. Old Grumpy, it's over to you. Since we've recently completed our ups and downs series of videos for the classic Doctors, the first 4 proper ones and then the other 3, I thought we ought to take a look at which episodes were the most watched of each story. These are the ones more Normies watched than any other, and it's how you should do your next viewing marathon. Only watch the most watched episodes, and you'll get a Normie's eye view of Doctor Who. So let's get started with Bill Hartnell's Doctor, the first Doctor. The Doctor who's a Time Lord who ran away, rather than a brown portal baby from fuck knows where. So first thing to say is that I don't view the first 4 episodes as a 4-part story. Never have. For me, it's always been a standalone first pilot episode, Unearthly Child, followed by a 3-part story about some cavemen called The Firemaker. Of those first 4 episodes, the most watched is The Firemaker episode 2, which is the 3rd transmitted episode, The Forest of Fear. For the rest of Bill's stories, we'll continue to use the accepted umbrella titles when we talk about which episode of a story was the most watched one. Where more than one episode in the story gets the same top viewership, we'll apply the sporting rule principle that the first one to hit the biggest number gets to be the one that gets watched. For instance, the Daleks episode 6, The Ordeal, and episode 7, The Rescue, got the same figure, and Reign of Terror 1, 2, 3 and 5 all got the same as well. Stories like that are the exception, not the rule. In the majority of cases, there's one episode that gets watched more than the others. So what we'll do is this. We'll go with whoever got the biggest number first, that's the one that gets watched. That way, there's one episode from each story. And before you say it, no, you're wrong. It's not always the first episode that gets the most viewers, as you'll see. So since I'm not that grumpy, I'm going to give you Unearthly Child, since that's a single episode story. So watch that first. After that, the next one you watch is The Forest of Fear, then The Ordeal. Moving on, Age of Destruction got more than Brink of Disaster. The most viewed episode of Marco Polo is the last one. For the Keys of Marinus, it's part 4. For the Aztecs, it's part 3. Censorites is part 1. As mentioned earlier, Reign of Terror 1, 2, 3 and 5 all got 6.9 million, but we're going to go with the first one. So Bill's first year, for the Normies who dipped in and out, not the fans who watched every week, looks like this. Unearthly Child, Firemaker 2, Dalek 6, Edge, Polo 7, Marinus 4, Aztecs 3, Censorites 1 and Reign 1. That's your next viewing marathon, the 9 most watched episodes of Bill Hartnell's first year. Moving on to Bill Year 2, Planet of Giants episode 3, Dalek Invasion of Earth episode 2, Rescue episode 2. Now here's a funny thing, more people watched the second episode of The Rescue than watched the 2 highest rated episodes of the Dalek Invasion of Earth. How did that happen? Moving on, The Romans episode 1, The Web Planet episode 1, The Crusade episode 1, The Space Museum episode 1, The Chase episode 1 and the first episode of The Time Meddler. Bill Year 3, Galaxy 4 Part 3, Airlock, the one that exists, Mission to the Unknown, because that's a standalone, Mythmakers episode 3, the 3rd episode of the Dalek Master Plan, the 1st episode of The Massacre, episode 4 of The Ark, the 3rd episode of The Celestial Toymaker, the 2nd episode of The Gunfighters, the 2nd episode of The Savages, the 1st episode of The War Machines, the 2nd episode of The Smugglers, and the 3rd episode of The 10th Planet, which is the one that Bill isn't in. So there you have it, those are the most watched episodes of each of Bill's 3 years as the Doctor. That's your next viewing marathon. Now, if you're interested, the ratings graphs for each of the doctors, the proper ones, the rubbish ones, and the fake one, are online over at the Whopix site. Link in the description. So that's your Hartnell Doctor from the point of view of the Normies. Next time, it's the Troughton Doctor. Until then, resist the Marxists, don't be a sheep, and stay grumpy.